Hey everybody, welcome to my shop. Come on in. Well, hey everybody, it's Tom here. Welcome back to the channel. So you see a array of stuff in front of you. I figured I'd do my part and make my shop made tools video. Most of you guys have seen other smaller channels do this, and I figured I would support the cause and get out a bunch of my stuff. I just basically went around the shop and see what I could find. So I just kind of limited to this right here. I mean, we could expand it and show welding tables and the stand I built for the arbor press. I mean, they're all kind of tools, but I figured I would just narrow down the scope and just to show this stuff here. It's just some projects I've made, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Let me turn the camera around and we'll get started. Well, I guess I'll just start with what's in front of us here. We'll start with the pallets. So this first one here is a large pallet that goes on my rotary table. So as you guys have experienced that have rotary tables, the real estate gets taken up very quickly. So if you have an 8-inch rotary table and you're trying to put a part there, you don't have much room to try to get clamps and fixtures and stuff down to hold that part. So what I decided to do was, expand that real estate, and I made this big pallet here. It is, let me get a tape out. So it's 13 by just a little over 10.5 inches, and that's how I got it. And for you metric guys, let's see, so you got 15, that's, excuse me there, 30, so almost 33 centimeters by, I really need a larger metric ruler, 15, 26, by about 27 centimeters. What this does here, this bolts down to the adapter plate that's already on my rotary table. And then of course I've got tapped holes. These look like, I think these are half 13. And then on the bottom, you can see the holes go all the way through, but I've got a locating bore right here. So basically I've got a little stub shaft that comes out of my rotary table. It's a Morse Taper 3, and then this will sit right here. So after you get your table, centered, zeroed, put this on, and she'll automatically be true and perfect and in the right location. And then you just put this thing down with the 4 bolts, and away you go. So I think there's a video on this, one of my earlier YouTube videos. I'll go back and check, and I think I got a couple other projects here that I did videos on, and I'll put I guess the links in the comments, and I'll just pin it that way. That's easier, because sometimes I have issues trying to get them to stay in the description. So that's that big pallet there, easy to make. Alrighty, so next off you got a pallet that is basically indexing. So what I've done, as you can see, I took a piece of round stock, just under 2.5 inches in diameter, so it probably started at 2.5, and I skimmed it, and that's just a little over about almost 6.5 centimeters. Just milled out a pocket for it, and this plate sits down in it, tapped 1/4-20. But what this does is this diameter here works perfect in your Kurt vice jaws. So you can use this in the mill. So you put this in your vice jaws and it'll grab it, and then you can put it at whatever angle you want. So it's kind of like a homemade sign plate. Just put a jack after you've got the angle that you want, and you're good to go. I put a little shelf in here so the part will stay. And then of course I also have shoulder bolts. You can use those to locate your part also. easy project. I don't think I've got a YouTube video on this one. I think I made this before I started my channel. Okay, what you're looking at is just your basic pallet, obviously. And 1 inch thick, almost 2.5 centimeters. I think I did it by about 6, let's see. Almost 15.25 centimeters by 6 inches. So yeah, a little 6 by 6 pallet, 1/4 holes. Just made some little hole downs there. You know, simple project, but comes in handy. This little booger right here, obviously it's a hand wheel. What I did is I bored it out a little bit, got a 3/4 socket, turned the socket down and pressed it into the bore. And what I use this for is I use it on my mill, so I slide it on top of the drawbar up top. And when I'm trying to indicate with an indicator, so then I got this hand wheel up there at the top and I can rotate her back, you know, left and right. So works out really perfect for me. You know, some mills are easier than others, but on mine this works really good. So handy little project. If you guys have difficulty, you know, trying to turn that indicator around back and forth, you know, you're just trying to grab the quill or something, maybe think about making something like this. Well, what you're looking at is a array of tools that help me with the lathe. Some of them are self-explanatory. I mean, this is just basic. This is your, you know, your push tool with a bearing and just a simple piece of stock. Easy to make. Pretty much everybody's got one, but you know, it comes in handy when you got one real thin part and trying to get her perfect in the jaws. You can just kind of come up there and push her and get her right. And then, of course, the back of your lathe there and your spindle bore, your basic lathe spider, nothing special. This one just slips on, and then of course I've got 4 screws to locate the stock. And one of my earlier and first attempts at a lathe tool. So yeah, I know you guys can laugh, but you know, I was just starting to learn. I scored a bunch of carbide real cheap at the flea market. The guy was selling tons of this stuff. It was $1 a carbide insert, and he had, I think, a pack of 6 or 8 of WNMGs. I didn't have an insert, so I figured I'd just grab the carbide and, you know, give it a whirl. She works pretty good, you know, but there obviously there's better tools out there with better geometry. And here you've got a stock spacer. So you can buy these commercially. I know there's a set of like 3 out there for like 150 bucks or something. I figured I'd just make one. So what this does is, you know, your 3-jaw will go in here, and if you want to put your stock that you're working on, you know, you can space it out off of this. What I've done is I tapped, let's say 5/16/24 fine thread, so I can make this bigger. So what I'll do is, if I need this bigger, I'll go over to the surface plate and get the height I want, you know, screw these in, and I'll measure all 3 points so I know she's perfectly flat. Get her the way I want. Let's say she's like this, and then you just put her on your 3-jaw with this towards the face, and then your piece of stock that you're working on goes right here, and you're good to go. So, quick and easy project. What you're looking at here is just a simple chamfering tool. I think I've got a YouTube video on this one. If I do, I'll pin it in the comments. So this is just a scrap end of a broom handle, and this is an aluminum body. Just turned it, you know, did a little ornate design, drilled a hole, put a basic rivet in it, homemade rivet. And put a countersink in, so you know, that way when you got your board and you finished it and you need to chamfer it, you just grab the tool while the lathe is still on and just stick her in the hole, and she'll just real quick down and dirty. Alrighty, so what you're looking at is a couple tools. I've got a several part video series on making this arbor support. When you want to turn your vertical mill into a horizontal mill, they make a right angle milling head attachment. So this goes up on into your quill, you lock her down, and then this will hang out, and then this is R8, so you put your R8 tooling in here. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but if you want to take heavier cuts or if you want to put bigger cutters on there, obviously you're going to need some sort of support if you run a long arbor. So here's your long arbor. So she would go in here and she stick out. Sorry for the shakiness. And then you want to turn your, let me put this down, turn this into a horizontal mill. So this attachment here goes on the dovetail, the ram of your mill, and she gets supported right there. So there's your arbor support. So I made this. Came up pretty good. I'm happy with it because I've got a Excello mill, which is a Canadian mill, and an original one of these babies right here are hen's teeth. I've only seen one on eBay come up in like the last 10 years. Guy wanted like 650 bucks for it. So that's why I went the route and made this. And to be able to draw in your arbor or your tooling, you've got this back here, and I needed a spanner. So I made a simple spanner. This was just a cheap screwdriver that came in that little toolkit that you get when you buy a import mill or lathe. So I just had this in my junk toolbox, and like I said, I just made this little down and dirty 2-pin spanner. So she just goes in there and she holds it, and you just tighten up your arbor. It's pretty simple. What you're looking at here is a Arbor Adapter that I made. I do have a video on this one too, I believe. So what this allows is you can run annular cutters. They go in here, and what you can do is you can use the annular cutter either on your mill with the R8, or I can use it on my lathe with the Morse Taper 3. So I made that versatile so I can screw it onto either one. So let's say I want to put it in the tailstock of my lathe, and boom, I'm good to go. Put your annual cutter in here, tighten her down with your grub screws, and you can rock and roll. So this is pretty simple to make, and then I just use some oxidizing and got it tool black. So what you're looking at is a couple automotive related kind of down and dirty tools I made. When I was working on Dana axles for guys, one of the common upgrades, the front axle that is, to either put larger U-joints in it or mill out the ears, the pockets so to speak, so you can use a U-joint with a full retaining clip, not just a C-clip. Because the problem is when you're wheeling hard and you get your tire in a bind, and you're trying to transfer that power and things start twisting, the ears start to twist and get oblonged a little bit, and that C-clip will want to pop out, and then of course then something pops out, then the U-joint can move, and then it usually fails and something obviously breaks or explodes. So for the upgrade, what I did, I made this tool with a Keyway Cutter, so I could come down and on top of the ear and mill out the pocket on the bottom of the ear, and then of course I can just come up and raise it up and do the same, and that way it'd give me a flat bottom on the bottom ear, and then it'd obviously give me a flat ceiling in the other one, and that worked to hold the retaining clip. So just an arbor I just turned on the lathe, nothing special. with a set screw. But like I said, down and dirty, and it worked real well. This automotive tool, actually, I think Lyle makes it, and I think Ford actually carries it, but it looks a little better than this. So what this does is, this is a seal driver. When, let's see, it's been a while. On the front of the Dana 60 axles, I want to believe, on the, I guess there's like a unit bearing, and I want to say there's a seal, and then of course you got your stub shaft sticking out. To be able to drive that seal, you need one of these. So the stub shaft goes all the way in there. You know, this is the face that goes against the seal. And then of course you take a BFH and you whale it, and then you get that seal seated properly. So nothing fancy, but she came in handy and did the job. Alrighty, so if you're still sticking with me, I saved the best for last. This is the replica of an Eagle 66 oiler. The prints are out there online, especially if you're a member of the Hobby Machinist Forum. There's a guy that has them, and you can just get up with him, and he's more than happy to email them to you. So I made actually 3 of these. I made 1 for myself and 2 for a couple of my buddies. Works real well. The only thing I wish I'd have done, I Loctite this on, I may eventually heat it up and remove it, is make different diameter tips, you know, smaller ones, so you can have a little higher pressure and shoot it a little bit farther. But otherwise, she's been a great can. I keep whey oil in it over by the Monarch. So, fun project to do. Got a lot going on, but you know, as you can see, she's kind of no longer shiny and got a bunch of marks and dings, because I actually she used her. She's not a showpiece. She gets used. So, alrighty, I think that's about it. Well, I just want to say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you could, leave some comments about your tools. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later. Take care.